We are here. We are here. Why are we here? What are we here for right now on this planet? Who have you come to be? Some of us may have a clear vision of why we're here. Some of us may still be searching. I chose this song today because it calls our attention to what's happening around the world. We all see it splashed across our screen. But I also love the fact that we are here. That's the title. That was the main thing she was singing. And it's about oneness. It's about oneness. Even with all the bad stuff that's happening out there, we are one. We are one. These are all personal choices with negative consequences, negative outcomes that are happening. When we can elevate and begin to see that personal choices, right, with negative outcomes. Has anybody in this room ever experienced a personal choice that you've made with a negative outcome?
Yeah.
Right. Right. It may not have had global impact, but it certainly had a tumultuous impact on our lives, right? We've all been there. So my talk today is independence. Independence, as we are wrapping up our series, Windows and Doorways of Creativity. And my, we are creative beings, aren't we? Just look at our lifetimes and what we have seen created in the world. The really great and, oh my gosh, fantastic stuff, and the things that appear to be not so good. The things that appear to be bad, the bad stuff happening around the world. How is that possible in a world created by infinite love through beings who are also created of that same infinite love? How is that possible? If you were with us last week or you've watched the recordings, you heard Rev.t share a quote from the Science of Mind. It's a pretty famous quote in the Science of Mind, where Ernest says, to suppose that the creative intelligence of the world would create us in bondage and leave us bound would be to dishonor the creative power which we call God. That would make God small and petty and controlling, not really the God that we think of as the universal presence. He goes on to say that also to suppose that God could make us as an individual without allowing us to discover ourselves is also impossible. So what he's telling us is that we're created free and independent with intelligence to discover our true essence, our true being, our true nature. And we get to do that over the course of a lifetime or lifetimes if we believe in reincarnation. He's telling us we're not puppets of some grand puppet master in the sky that's controlling our every move. We have been created in this amazing physical form with all that's going on with it, in this amazing universe that is designed for us, to work for us, with us, support us, so that we can be the greatest expression of that divine through us. It's a pretty cool system when you think about it. And unfortunately, or fortunately, we get to do it our way. Each and every one of us, we get to do it our way. We can struggle, or we can live in grace. If you saw in yesterday's newsletter on Saturday morning or afternoon, or whatever you may have read, I read it this morning, I talked about what a frustrating week I had and how I was wishing that people were different. That people thought more like I did. Anybody else ever think that? If the world just thought like I did, it would be so easy, right? So much easier. But what I realized is that we're all just God beings doing our thing. Individualized expressions. And I remember Don Miguel Ruiz Take nothing personally. Easier said than done, yes? Mm-hmm. What my week revealed was that even though we're individuals, we also need each other. We also need each other. If I hadn't needed or been needed by the people that I was interacting with last week, neither of us would have had the opportunities for growth, the experiences, the beautiful experiences. There were some of those as well. It wasn't all bad. I had some great things happen last week. But I had some frustrating things. So we live in this system of freedom and independence. And this week for me was about remembering that. And also remembering to allow myself and others this thing called grace. This thing called grace. Because it's really easy to get frustrated when things don't go our way. The world according to Jill, right? Things don't go our way. It can be frustrating. Or maybe when we're not recognized for who we are or what we bring or the gifts or the skills or the talents that we may have. It can be a frustrating interaction. I'll give you an example. One of the situations that I was dealing with, I was asked to help draft a contract. I have a little expertise in that area, and I was asked to help with this. Great. The other side came to the table with a list of demands, most of which were pretty unreasonable, demanding, and downright unfair, particularly in light of the type of contract this was supposed to be. So I had to pause and allow a little grace to come in and begin to disarm some of these preconceived notions that were brought to the table. Got to have this, got to be this way. And in doing that, I felt a lot of anger from the other side. And I realized that mine could come up through and match that pretty easily, right? Don't we do that? We match the emotions. And I felt that. And I realized as I listened that this was old stuff. It was simmering stuff that they were dealing with. And I wondered, why so much anger? And I actually asked, I said, does it make sense? Is having a contract with this person the right thing to do? It's got to be this way or no way. And after the meeting, I discovered that not only was this happening, there's a third party who is putting some demands on the situation that created a little passive-aggressive situation at the table. So it was really dynamic. And needless to say, we did not get a contract drafted. Did not get a contract drafted. But I am really hopeful that through the conversations that we had, that a doorway opened for them, for a little more light, a little different perspective to happen, that we can ultimately now craft a more fair and balanced contract. Doorways of creativity is what we're talking about this month. Windows and doorways of creativity. And doorways of creativity open when we can change our perspective and see things a little differently. We can let in a little more light, or love, or joy, or peace, or in this case, fairness, balance, harmony. We can usually see a little more light with the open door than we can with the closed door. Now, as I reflected back a little more deeply on this experience when I figured out I was going to talk about it this morning, I noticed that my first reaction was to defend the person that wasn't at the table, the one that was having the demands placed on them that wasn't there. That was my initial reaction. And that was totally not my role. It was not my role. I was supposed to be Switzerland. I was supposed to be Switzerland. So I caught that and I had to check myself. Let that anger dissipate. And I had to listen and respond rather than react. We heard that before. Can I respond instead of react? allow my emotions to take over, I can respond. I had to look for a win-win, not the win-lose that they were creating with all those demands. And I had to allow grace on both sides of the table, both sides in this whole interaction. Ernest says, we need to believe in the grace of God, the divine givingness. But we must also recognize that the divine givingness can mean nothing to us until there is a takingness, what his words, on our part. A takingness. Spirit's always giving that grace. We live and move and are surrounded by God's grace at all times. But we have to be willing to receive it. Because like I said, God's not the puppet master that's going to force anything on us. God's a whisper, a giggle, as we said. We have to be the receivers of that. So I took a moment, I paused, I took a breath. And that's the open the window portion of our windows and doorways. Think ahead to the fall, late fall, when you can finally open your door early in the morning and you get that first breath of coolness in the air. We've been missing so much over the summer. It's like it is that opening of the window. It's the taking of the breath. And that's the pause that we can all take before we allow our emotions to cause us to react rather than respond. So in that pause, I was able to dig into my spiritual toolbox and find some tools I could use. And that's what we're talking about this year, is all these tools that we can use in our lives to help us in situations like that's a common situation. It's a business, common, everyday kind of thing. But yet I was able to use spiritual tools to help support me through that situation and hopefully support the others. I knew I could not allow my defensiveness or my anger to match theirs. You know, like they say, an eye for an eye leaves us all blind, right? That doesn't work for anybody. So this power to pause is one of our spiritual tools. And another is becoming self-reliant. Self-reliant. Remember last fall we talked about some of the influences on Ernest Holmes with Carol Carnes' book, I believe it was, the name of it. But we talked about Emerson and his influence on Ernest Holmes. And he wrote an essay called Self-Reliance. And in it he says, there is a time in our education when we arrive at the conviction that envy is ignorance, that imitation is suicide, that we must take ourselves for better or worse as our portion, that though the wide universe is full of good, no kernel of nourishing corn can come to us but through our toil bestowed on that plot of ground which is given to us to till. The power which resides in us is new in nature, and none but we know what it is that we can do, nor do we know until we have tried. Until we have tried. He's talking about life. He's talking about growth, expansion, spiritual advancement. We must accept ourselves. All the good is available to us right here, right now. All of the good is available to us, but it comes to and through us as we plant those seeds in mind and universal law. The power which resides is new in nature. God's always new. God never gets old, right? God's always new, creating, expanding, growing. Everything's always new, leading edge stuff. So it's always new within us because that's where that power resides. So becoming self-reliant is up to us. That's something we get to do. That's something we get to do. Rather than relying on others, rather than needing to have others' opinions about us and what we think they think that we should or do or be or have or say. And you know what? When we're doing that, they're doing the same thing. And they're so caught up and worried about what you think, they have no idea what you're doing. And we're so worried about what they think about us that we get caught up and we don't. It's a mess. It's kind of a mess. Self-reliant allows us to be independent. It allows us to be free. In our book of the month, Illusions by Richard Bach, a few copies available in the front lobby if you haven't gotten yours yet. It's a nice, fast read. It's a wonderful book. I invite you to read it. It has a lot of depth of meaning in it. But in the book, Richard says to Don, depending on people to care about what you say is depending on somebody else for your happiness. Well, we know that when we give someone else the power to make us happy, we also give them the power to make us sad. Take it away, right? And this is a little bit of the theme in the book, actually, as I thought through it this week. I remember a couple of weeks ago we were talking about Richard being concerned about the differences in the airplanes. Richard has a smaller plane, requires a shorter runway, requires less fuel. Don has this bigger plane. It will carry 2 passengers at a time, requires a lot more apparent runway, a lot more apparent fuel. And at one point, Don uses, you tie yourself to the sky, and you tie yourself to the limits of this airplane, right? So don't allow myself to be limited by what other people think or other people's planes. I need to be free and independent. So one of the messages of the book is self-reliance. Now we are wrapping up the book this week, and as we get into the end of the book, Donald, who has been the messiah, for lack of a better word, of this and sort of teaching Richard, he has a revelation. Now if you remember, you can follow along, Don calls God the is. He is. And he says the is doesn't need me to tell anybody how it works. God doesn't need me to tell anybody how it works. As a teacher of spiritual truth, I gave him pause. Really? Gee, we thought that was our job. That's what we do. We provide spiritual tools for personal and community transformation. It's part of our mission here, right? God doesn't need us to tell others what it does. So we have a saying around Science of Mind that we don't teach you what to think. We teach you how to think. So you can make your own decisions about the science of mind, about any faith tradition, any sacred writing, anything in life. How you're going to handle a contract negotiation the next time it comes up for you. How to think. These spiritual tools teach you how to think and give you options and opportunities about how to use them in creating a world that works for everyone. That's what we do. That's what we do. Now, many of us, when we first found this teaching, were so excited. Were you excited? So excited. I'm still excited. I mean, come on. But anyway, we felt very empowered because we were able to see it work in our lives. And we were excited, and we wanted to tell everybody about it, didn't we? And we wanted to tell them how to use it. We wanted to tell them every little thing about how to apply it and how it worked and what to do. We wanted to give them a shortcut to truth and spiritual realization. No shortcuts on the spiritual journey. There is no shortcut on the spiritual journey. There's no fast lane. There's no HOV lane, or party lane, as we like to call it.
Come on.
We have to discover the divine within our own hearts and build that intimate relationship ourselves. That's what Don realized. He thought he could teach and tell people and they would get it. That's why your spiritual practices are so important. It is such an inside job, and that's such a bad cliche, but it is. It is absolutely an inside job. And that's what Reverend Lee and I do. We give you the tools so you can find the inward path to make your own discoveries, to discover God, to discover the truth of who you are and what you've come here to be. We are here. We are here. This book provides a look at these two men. They were on different places on their journey, each deeply spiritual and each continuing to learn and grow. You know, Don's revelation, even though he was the guru in the book, so to speak, he still had this revelation at the end. The other thing he said with that revelation is that he really felt complete at that point. He felt complete. That these didn't need him to tell anybody how it works. He'd been doing that. He'd been trying to tell people how it works so they would get what he got. That's kind of what we do. We want you to get what we got because we're so happy about what we got. Mm-hmm. We're on our individual spiritual journeys. Together. They are individual, they're personal, they're very, very personal. But we're here together. We are here. And it's not just we are here in this community. We are here in all of our CSLs. We are here in every body around this planet because we are one. We are connected. And when we can elevate our consciousness to really begin to experience that idea of oneness, then we can begin to see the shift. We can begin to express our love and share our love around the world, our peace around the world. And we can recognize that we're one human family. We are one human family with a bajillion different ideas about how this world should work. But we are still one. We are still one. We're on the spiritual journey. Destination unknown. But what I do know is that the spiritual truth, tools, and practices that I learn, that I know, have prepared me for whatever is there. And they'll prepare you also. They will prepare you also. So if you would like to study these principles some more, deepen in this teaching a little more, I invite you to sign up for the Mindful Monday newsletter. Reverend Lee or I send those out on Monday mornings. And it is a recap of the talk that you can then use throughout the week to practice, to embody, to use these tools so that you've got them handy in your toolbox for the next thing life throws at you. We never know what it's going to be. Joe just gave you all this stuff. Okay, so our spiritual practice this week is self-reliance. So I invite you to consider which areas of your life are you self-reliant in? That you just know, you've got it, it's dialed in. You don't wait for anybody else's opinion about what it should be. What is that? What is that? What areas of your life do you maybe spend a little time over cogitating, thinking, what do the people think about? Oh my gosh. What are they going to think about this message? I can't possibly play that song. What are they going to think about? What are they going to think about? What are they going to think if I drop a prayer right in the middle of this meeting? Right? What are they going to think about? Think about that this week. Consider that. Contemplate that. Where have you let that go? Where is it still prevalent? Record in your journal what your insights are and see if you can let go of some of that a little bit more. Let go of that a little bit more. And be the God self you came here to be. Be the full expression. Becoming self-reliant will open many doorways to freedom and independence for us. This week, I invite you to follow Mr. Emerson's wise words when he said, "What must I do is all that concerns me, not what the people think." So it is. And it's your turn. It's an open floor, open mic for questions, comments, complaints, whatever you might have about, what do we talk about? Independence, grace, self-reliance, or anything else on your heart. Anyone? I can dance. Beverly.
Your last statement, that just one slide back, the
Emerson?
that was what I think is all of what I must do is see what must I do is all that concerns me, not what other people think. But isn't that why we're stuck in this world right now? That nobody else is listening to each other?
Mm. Yeah.
Well, that is an interpretation. I agree. That is an interpretation. What must I do is listen. Not what other people think. I looked at that from a different perspective, from the perspective of changing myself based on what others think. And I think what you're referring to is not collaborating, not sharing ideas, not being open to different ideas and solutions, maybe? Is that?
Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, not being open to solutions. My way or the highway, one way. Yeah. Yeah, I really looked at this more from the standpoint of, again, not allowing the opinions of others to change my fundamental being, not from the standpoint of not being a team player, if that makes sense. I think we definitely need to have open conversation, communication, and collaboration. But if I'm going to just go with Reverend Lee's idea, or then go with Stephen's idea, or go with Jim's idea, where are my ideas? Because I can't be, Stephen's, I can't be wrong with Steve. I can't be wrong with Lee. Lee's been in ministry 30. I can't do that.
It's almost stay in your lane.
Well, yeah, but it's also a sense of self. It's that sense of self and who am I and what are the gifts that I have to bring, and my what must I do? Who am I as the individualized expression of God, and what gifts have I brought to bring forward here? And I have to bring those, but I bring them in a way that is collaborative, a way that is inclusive, not in a way that is, it's my way or the highway, and when it's not, discount, nobody else matters but me. Does that offer any? Okay. Anyone else? That was good, Bev. Thank you.
I just wanted to say what you said just reminded me of, like, so right back to that taking responsibility. What do I have to do, right? Or like you said, focusing on your gifts, individually my gifts, but being open, being able to do so. So when you do something that lights you up, that's how you shine your light, right? You're doing something that you feel that is your gift, that you're in flow, right? You're moving through the world in that way, with the openness, compassion, love, and acceptance that everybody else also has that beautiful capacity, right? Everybody else has those divine gifts. And when everybody is speaking and living in their authentic truth, that opens the way for more collaboration, love, and acceptance, and listening, and all of the things.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. Anyone else? Beverly?
Just what you were just saying really rang a bell, because when we are living in our authentic selves, the truth of love and kindness and God and goodness and blessings, that the opposite, people I think, tend to live in fear. And that, I think, is the challenge, that most people are, for whatever reason, are living in fear right now. But, so living in love is what I must do.
Right. Not fearing difference or people that think or live differently. Right. Difference isn't scary, doesn't have to be scary. Then we can embrace that as gifts.
Now we talked about elevating in consciousness and recognizing we are here, we are one. And when we can do that, then we can begin to find that common ground of love, the common ground of respect, and begin to find solutions. Anyone else? Thank you all. Wonderful discussion. Thank you very much. Would you join me for prayer? Oh, as we move into the stillness and the centered place within us, we recognize that that is the is. That is the place of the divine. And we just breathe into that peace and love, harmony and joy, balance, wisdom, truth. Recognizing that that's all that there is. That is the all, that is the everything, that is the is. And all of that is here now present, in, through, and as me, and in, through, and as each one of us, as an expression of it, for we are that divine love, truth, wisdom, wholeness, peace, harmony, joy. And so is everyone else on this planet. For we are here together, we are here as one. And in this moment, we, Scottsdale Center for Spiritual Living, elevate our consciousness into that place of love, into the place of the divine, into the place of the infinite. And we open our hearts, and we allow that love to go forth from this room, from this city, from this state, country, all around the world, embracing all of our brothers and sisters. And we just know love. We know peace and harmony and joy. And as we bring our awareness back here, we recognize and acknowledge our freedom and independence of the beings of light that we are, of the expressions of God that we are. We are so blessed, so very blessed to be here today, to be in this community, to be in the sunshine. I bless all of those who have given the ultimate gift to this country in service to it. I bless their families. And I bless this country, knowing that we are blessed and better for their service. And I know in this moment, for anyone that has anything on their heart this day they seek prayer for, as they lift it into the consciousness of this prayer, this space, this holy place, that we surround it with our love and our peace, knowing its full and complete manifestation right here and right now. And it is with joy and thanksgiving that I release this prayer into the action of law, knowing that it is already done. It is so. There's nothing else for us to do but just accept it. And we do so by affirming. And so it is.